Yeah, well, okay, so that's a great analogy. So think about this aquarium that's got fish that you want to keep. These are your pets. And it's also got overgrowth of algae, like that completely overgrows the tank. And that algae is going to kill the fish, right? You get enough gunk growing in that tank, you're going to kill the fish. So what can you actually do to clean up that tank? You want to get rid of the algae, but you don't want to kill the fish. That's really probably the best analogy of this microenvironment situation in any organ that we have in our body where you want to get rid of the cancer cells, but you don't want to actually kill the healthy cells. Well, it turns out that cancers are exquisitely sensitive to the blood vessels, as I told you, and if you cut off the blood supply to cancer, it's kind of like lowering the bubbling, the air system into the aquarium. So you got enough just for the fish, but not enough for the algae to grow. And the body knows how to make that difference. So, for example, blood vessels that are feeding normal cells are really well constructed. Like a think about a house that the architect really made really strong. It's got good pilings, it's got good infrastructure, the frame is really solid, the windows are really nailed down tightly. And a cancer, when it grows blood vessels to it, doesn't do it really well. So that's like a crappy contractor that cut all the corners. And so basically the house, the blood vessel system feeding the cancer is like a crappy house. When the hurricane comes, okay, guarantee you that the vessels that are feeding the cancer are going to come flying apart, but the ones that are feeding the healthy cells, the well-constructed ones, are going to stick around. They're going to outlast the storm. And that's basically what we can actually do with anti-angiogenic drugs. Now, foods can do the same thing. There are many things in foods, these bioactives we talked about, that Mother Nature laced into plants, kind of like Mother Nature's pharmacy with an F, actually can help to mow the lawn and get that tame those blood vessels so that if they're growing towards the cancer, you can kind of prune them back, trim them back to normal, and it prevents the cancers from growing new ones, which is really, really important. For cancer prevention, that's just having enough of that milieu to prevent blood vessels from overgrowing can be really important. So what are some of the things? Green tea, which everybody knows as antioxidants, which can actually lower your blood sugars, help to lower your cholesterol, lower your stress levels, your catecholamine, actually is super packed with these catechins, EGCG, the main polyphenol that is anti-angiogenic. So way back when I got in this field, we had a test system where we were testing cancer drugs that could starve a cancer by cutting off its blood supply. And one of the things that I did is I actually dropped some green tea in there, and it was shocking how effective the green tea polyphenols were in stopping those blood vessels that were feeding the cancer. And in fact, if I didn't tell the technician doing the lab work that it was actually a natural compound, and I told them it came from a drug company, they would have been super excited about it and started jumping up and down. And so again, Mother Nature is really, really good. So polyphenols in tea, EGCG is one of them. Resveratrol in red wine, also another one that's actually really, really powerful in terms of being anti-angiogenic. Genistein, the phytoestrogen in soy, actually can also cut off the blood supply feeding breast cancer. So it's just the opposite of the urban legend out there that soy is not good for you. I recently saw an article. It was a cover of a magazine that said, soy anti-nutrients or something like that. And my mind was blown that somebody could actually say that, because most of the nutrients, including the proteins, but also the phytoestrogens in soy, again, if you're a scientist, you take a look at this, and the phytoestrogens look nothing like human estrogens. They're not dangerous. They actually block human estrogens, and they actually are also anti-angiogenic, and they cut off the blood supply to breast cancers. And this has been shown in human patients, breast cancer patients as well. Tomatoes have lycopene. So many of the same foods that we know are good, healthy, plant-based sources of nutrition, we're now rediscovering that many of the bioactives in them are also powerful cancer blood vessel cutting off systems that cut off that starve a tumor. As a doctor, I was always trained to wonder why somebody got sick. What did they do? What was going on in their bodies that led to an illness? And in fact, most patients always ask me, well, so what happened? How did I get this? How did I contract this condition? And that's how I was trained to think for decades. But reality is, and as a researcher, that's what I was looking at, is what is the underlying cause of illness? But I think I discovered there was a much more interesting question. And that more interesting question is, why don't we get sick more often? If you think about it, like kids are usually pretty healthy. And actually, when you're in the prime of your life, you're generally pretty healthy. Yeah, you might get a flu or might get a cold every now and then. It's only when you get older that you start getting sick. And the more interesting question is like, why don't kids get cancer more often than they do? Why don't healthy adults get more heart disease? Why don't they get diabetes, like more often than they do? I mean, some people do at a younger age. And so that's really by turning that question about why did I get sick into why aren't I getting sick more often? That led me down this direct path to saying, what is a body doing to prevent illness? And what is health itself? If the question, the way that I would use to answer the question, what is health, is like, yeah, well, you're healthy if you're not sick. And I think that's how most people would answer it. Turns out health is not just the absence of disease. Health is the result of our body working, firing on all cylinders to keep us that way and to ward off illness. And what keeps us healthy, what wards off illness, what is firing in all cylinders are health defense systems. Now, I found 5 health defense systems, and I wrote about 5 in my book, Eat to Beat Disease, because I've worked in the drug development field in each of these areas. Angiogenesis is one of them. Let's talk about all 5 of them first. Blood vessels, I've done drug development in helping to grow blood vessels and stop blood vessels. Second are stem cells. I'll come back to that. I've done decades of work in developing regenerative medicine to try to regenerate organs. It's amazing what you can actually do in the biotech world with that. Third is the microbiome. I've done research on the microbiome with colleagues at MIT and elsewhere. Fourth is genes, our DNA. And most people think of our DNA as sort of the genetic code. I've done gene therapy. So I've actually helped to develop gene therapies. And fifth is our immune system. And our immune system, which is hardwired, and this is more important than ever before, in immunotherapy for cancer, for example, is one of the most powerful breakthroughs in the medical world today. So I've got the street cred of doing drug development in each of these areas, but rather than thinking about using drugs to activate these systems, if we turn the sock inside out and take a look at, okay, so how do these systems actually defend our health? Our circulation prevents prevents disease by feeding our healthy cells and preventing bad diseases from growing, like cancer. Our stem cells, by the way, you may not know this, but all of us have about 75 million stem cells that are in our bodies at any given time. And we're actually made out of stem cells because when we were in our mom's wombs, the only reason our bodies were able to even form a human figure, like, the little Play-Doh that kind of forms humans in the womb, is because of stem cells. And we retain some of those after we're born, and we lock them up in our bone marrow and in our skin and elsewhere, and our bodies regenerate continuously. That's one of our health defense systems because, as we age, we need to repair ourselves from the inside out. Like we know our hair regrows for most people. We know that even our mucous membranes, our the sort of skin in our mouth, regrow. Anybody who's ever, had a really hot a hot piece of food and you burn your mouth and it totally screws you up. Next day you're back to normal because your skin in your mouth, your mucous membrane regenerated. Okay, it's like eating a Dorito and you scrape the top of your mouth. Next day you'll be fine because of regeneration. But what's amazing is that our organs regenerate from the inside out. If I took your liver and we cut off 2/3 of your liver and left 1/3 left, it would regenerate the rest of the 2/3. So just like a starfish would regenerate an arm. Of your lung, if I cut off the tip of your lung, it would grow right back. And what we're starting to realize is that the playbook of human biology is being rewritten because when you and I were kids, I'm sure our grade school teachers taught us the same thing. Starfish and salamanders regenerate, but people don't. Wrong. People regenerate. And so now we can actually try to coax this regeneration to go faster. It's one of our defense systems, but and while biotech people are trying to figure out ways to make us regenerate, foods can also cause us to prompt regeneration as well, which is really cool. Foods like chocolate, foods like dark chocolate, cacao, polyphenols can actually stimulate regeneration. There's all kinds of other biotech kind of things that can actually do this, but Mother Nature has laced things that can be regenerative, like ursolic acid in fruit peel can coax our stem cells to come out of our bone marrows to stimulate regeneration as well. I mean, imagine a future in which we understood how to match the substance in a food that naturally occurs with something that we need, like brain regeneration for dementia, for example. That would really be a game changer. And so that's where the future of understanding our bodies hardwired self-defenses for regeneration goes. Microbiome, we've got like 39 trillion bacteria in our body, most of them in our colon. And we know that when our gut bacteria is healthy, it controls our hormones, it controls our cholesterol metabolism, it controls how our body uses blood sugars. When we screw up our gut bacteria, it screws up everything. Like literally, we've got an ecosystem inside our body that if we don't take care of that ecosystem, it wrecks the rest of our body. And something that's stunning to know, for example, is that um, uh, is how vulnerable the system is. Artificial sweeteners, like you find in a diet soda, can in 24 hours, overnight, start to destroy your gut microbiome. The healthy gut bacteria start to change. They don't like that artificial sweetener because we don't absorb those calories, right? Those are the non-caloric sweeteners. So we get the taste in the front end. In the back end, we don't absorb it, so we don't get the calories. But guess what? Our bacteria are eating those things too, and they don't like it. We're poisoning the field. When those bacteria don't like it and they start dying, it affects our metabolism. It affects even our brain hormone. So we want to keep our gut defense system, which is tied to our immune system, by the way, really, really healthy. Our DNA is another defense system. People don't realize this, but we make 10,000 mistakes in our DNA every single day that causes mutations, which then can cause cancer. So fortunately, our DNA system defends us by fixing itself. And our immune system, of course, is our ultimate shield to prevent us from bad guys coming in from the outside, whether it's COVID or whether it's the flu or whether it's, some other germ. But also our immune system protects us from bad guys on the inside of our body. And that's those cancers that we started talking about. Our immune system conducts surveillance to take out those bad guys inside our skin as well. Let's start with one of my favorites, which is blueberries, right? So blueberries are blue because they contain a natural dye that is colored blue that is called anthocyanin. And anthocyanins have been found to be powerful activators of our immune system in a beneficial way. So they don't cause autoimmune disease. They actually elevate our T cells and natural killer cells. These are part of the super soldiers that make up our immune system. They just kind of like give more weapons to our immune system to defend against invading armies. And just by eating like a cup and a half of blueberries a day, you can elevate your T cells by like 88%. Okay. And athletes that actually eat blueberries regularly, they just walk around with a higher level of immunity to begin with. It's kind of a performance maintainer, not an enhancer. It's a maintainer because your immune system is also firing at peak. Now, what's also interesting is that the same anthocyanin lowers inflammation. So this is a classic dilemma that is out there in the wellness world. Like, yeah, we want to get rid of inflammation. So we want to make sure our immune system isn't overactive. Well, look, inflammation is a subset of immunity. We want good, strong immunity to protect us from invaders, and we want to also lower inflammation at the same time. Blueberries can actually do that. Another great way of actually elevating immunity is with broccoli. Now, broccoli contains a natural compound called sulforaphane. It's actually a family of different natural chemicals that kind of give broccoli its kind of unique taste. It's also in kale, chard, all these other kinds of salad vegetables, honestly. But broccoli is particularly strong in, and it's been shown that actually you can actually boost your T cells, again, the super soldiers of your immune system, by just eating broccoli. But here's like a little pro tip and a little tiny hack. If you want to get as much as you can out of broccoli, you should eat normal adult broccoli. But here's the thing: the treetops are good, but the stems have twice as much of the sulforaphane. So don't throw the stems away when you're cooking it. If you don't want to saute the stems, there's plenty of recipes you can use with stems. You can put it into a blender, turn it into a soup, a little broccoli oregano soup. Amazing. You put a little vegetable stock in there. It's like a really tasty way of actually using broccoli and getting more of these sulforaphanes. But if you really want to like rock it with your broccoli sulforaphanes, you eat broccoli sprouts. These are the 3 to 4 day old baby broccoli. And it turns out that the broccoli sprouts have 100 times more sulforaphane than the grown-up broccoli. So, and actually, the study's been done looking at the people getting the flu vaccine. These are 20-year-olds, healthy 20-year-olds, just getting the flu vaccine. And it was found that if you gave the flu vaccine and gave somebody a shake made out of broccoli sprouts, you could ramp up their immune response by 22 times. So like really just amp up your immune system without causing inflammation.
Hey, if you like that video, then you're going to love this one. Check it out.